So looking at the industry on a wider scale, did you ever think that people would be paying this kind of money for sneakers?
Well, I mean, I've taken my sons to sneaker con a couple of times, and I've been floored. I mean, it's actually a phenomenon. You know how it has parlayed into what it is right now. Because I mean, there was always card signing. You know, even back in the day, tops, bubblegum cards, and so on and so forth. And so I'm here. I'm signing balls and flat pieces for Steiner, and I think Steiner's in collaboration with, the sneaker situation. But it's way beyond what I imagined when I was coming through. But it's a sign of the times. A sign of personal values because when you're coming up, you have a value system instilled in you by your parents, and generally you value the things that they value. So somewhere in the culture, there was this great value placed on footwear that surpassed the values placed on dollar and cents, by the parents. And maybe it was a little bit of a revolution, in its own way, sort of like the hip hop, revolution.
Right.
That might be a good parallel where, suddenly it wasn't, I want to do what the generation before me did. I don't want to do what the generation before me did. I'm going to do something different. And this great value was placed on footwear. So, I mean, you got sneakers, selling for $3,000-$4,000 or whatever. I mean, back in the day, there has to be a car for somebody. But now the car is $35,000. So they're like, I put this in my sneakers, hope it appreciates, and hope that I can do something with it later on, sell it. But right now it's like a trophy, so they take it as trophy. Somebody has a sneaker closet, obviously in the music generation and sports, the two iconic mediums that kids love to follow, music and sports. And if the music heroes and the sports heroes, have closets with these shoes in it, they're like, okay, I want to get a mini version of that, So you find them here, and they're here by the thousands.
What are the major differences that you see in sneakers you didn't see while you were playing?
I saw Star Trek in the movies and on TV, so now you see it on people's feet. You see these out of the world versions of shoes that are created to attract attention, and some of them would never stand up to competitive tests, going out and playing in them. So they're not being bought, to play in. I mean, they're being bought for show, walking around, person's personal swag, and obviously there's a style issue. I mean, there's people who are trendsetters and they're trend followers. So the trendsetter puts them on, they set the trend, and then people follow. And there's a cost for following.
Right.
How have sneakers changed the game of basketball today?
I always thought that footwear was important, and the biomechanics associated with footwear. I mean, I went through a lot of that during my years with Converse. That we would create a last of my foot, and you try different types of leathers and suedes, canvas on that, the rubber component, and the arch component, and then you always have tested for durability as well as effectiveness in terms of withstanding the hard pounding, that goes on in the court. So I think with some of the styles that come out today, I mean, it's more cosmetic. You have setups where a kid can actually go in and design his own sneaker. So he can go into Nike store, and he can design his own sneaker. And obviously it's not going to have any kind of technology in it if he's just saying, I want this design, and he don't care about the technology that's in it. He's not even knowledgeable of it. He's just knowledgeable of the cosmetic appeal and what appeals to his eye. So the sneaker game has changed, and it probably will continue to change.
Describe how it was hooping in Converse back in the day.
I wore Converse, I wore Adidas. It was a company called Kimmel that I had an endorsement with out of Long Island City. for a year. As a kid, pro kids. So, I tried them all, but the first significant contract that I signed was with Converse in 1974, and I'm still there. So 74 was a long time ago, so that's the one that gets associated with Dr. J.
So during your time on the court, was it more about style or comfort?
I think style was a secondary concern. Before that, how they felt and how they performed and how long they would last. And then, after you get to the pros, sometimes you wear a pair of shoes for a week or two, you sign them and give them away. So that happened during my tenure as a pro. But, when you're high school and college, you get a pair of shoes, you try to keep them for a year.
Are there any current NBA players that you wish you could play with in the past?
No. Nah.
Which current signature shoe are you a fan of?
That's interesting. Two teenage sons, and LeBron's shoe is clearly the shoe of choice for my oldest son, who's 17, and my 13-year-old Derrick Rose's shoe, and everything about Derrick Rose. So they have their favorites, and it's coming out of my pocket. So we have a lot of LeBron stuff, and we have a lot of Derrick Rose stuff. I just rock, my Converse stuff and Jack Purcell's, and I'm comfortable with where I'm at. I don't really wear shoes of current players.
What current NBA player is your favorite?
I'd say my favorite team to watch is the Spurs. My favorite team to cheer for is the Sixers, of course, with soft spot for the Nets because I played for the Nets and I played for the Sixers. But the one I like to watch is the Spurs, and the one who has been the best ambassador and representative of the old ABA is the Spurs, and they've been the most successful. So I watch them, and I try to squeeze Indiana in there and Denver, but it's hard. It's hard. The Spurs are easy, and they're a good organization, so that makes it easy. And now living in Atlanta, I have good regard for the Hawks. I like to see them be successful. Last year they were the most successful in the history of their franchise. So promise is for them to get better this year, go further, and so I'll be there as a supporter.
How was it playing with Jordan, and what are your thoughts of his shoe brand?
Well, Michael has gone through the roof in terms of the shoe brand and the legacy play in terms of going back different decades, resurrection of shoes from the years that he played as well as the many years with Brand Jordan, having the success that he's had after his playing career. So it's unparalleled. We overlapped for 3 years. His first 3 years were my last 3 years as a player, so those were years 14, 15, and 16 for me. And he established himself early. They chased the title for 7 years, before they won. And then after that, it was 6 more titles. So he had to go through the process of learning how to play and how to be a pro and how to be a star. And he did a great job of doing it because I think he was very demanding and commanding. Particularly one of the things that, I noticed that he did was, had a really good relationship with management in terms of not having guys on the team, who was smoking weed and didn't want to practice and stuff like that. He was like, they got to go. And I take my hat off to him for that because, it's a shame when you see people who have that opportunity to be a professional and then they abuse it or they just blow it by just doing stupid stuff. So Mike was, one of those guys, like myself, who was intolerant in terms of, having teammates who didn't want to be dedicated to, trying to win and win at all costs. And that, in part, was a reason why he was so successful.
Sixth grade is when Jordan 3 came out. And even, I was buying the Jordan 1s, and even before that I was buying the Bo Jacksons and the McEnroe trainers, the Revolutions.
I had one guy offer me like 100, for everything I own. And I was just like, wow, that's not, but and it's a nice number, but I don't know. I mean, I just can't